the problem with, weaponizing tribalism and bigotry and all of that when it's time for elections is that you can't turn it off after you win the elections. It's one of the major problems. And I'm not saying that it necessarily started, with the 2023 elections. It has somehow always existed, but it seems like it was given a boost. The tribalism and the bigotry in the conversations were given such a boost during the 2023 elections, and we've seen the damage that is causing across the Nigerian conversations. If you go online, it takes a lot of patience to learn to just keep scrolling when you see certain people and certain types of comments. But there's just so much tribalism going on.
Absolutely.
And again, the problem with it, when you weaponize it to win elections, the problem is that you cannot turn it off after winning the elections. It stays and the damage continues. And we've heard about a story of a lady who is in Canada. Now, I saw the story yesterday. Abike Dabiri commented on it and, of course, shared, the person's details on it yesterday.
And you've talked about it being weaponized, which is true. And what's sad is because when the problems with bigotry started, or the conversations about bigotry were seen at the last elections, we saw no punishments or consequences. If there were punishments, strong punishments, where our government took an actual stand to say, we do not stand in support of bigotry, not just with words, because it's very easy for the government to have press releases and distance themselves from a number of opinions like they did with Lagospedia, but making actual arrests. Now, in all fairness, there was an arrest that was made. There was a young man last year who was arrested. His name is, I'm trying to remember. Yes, his name is Kehinde Adesogba Adekusibe, I hope I pronounced that correctly. The Osun State Police Command arrested him last year because he put out a tweet talking about inciting people against the Igbo people. There's also some reports, which I don't know if it's confirmed, and I'm hoping that we can hear reports about that. There's reports that even though he was arrested and said to be brought before a court, they said they were going to arrest and prosecute him after investigation. There are reports, I did see one yesterday that said they had gone behind the doors, gone through the back doors and released him. And I'm hoping that it's not true. So we're looking forward to hearing a report regarding this young man by the name Kehinde Adekusibe, who did put out a tweet last year saying that Igbos should be harmed. He was arrested and investigated, and the police promised to prosecute right after the investigation. But I say all of that as a background to this conversation about the alleged Igbo woman who went on a TikTok space and was talking about harming Yoruba people and Edo people. I condemn totally, wholeheartedly, and in totality what she said. We do not in any way support that. When the NIDCOM boss, Abike Dabiri, spoke up against it, Nigerians started to criticize her. And part of the criticism leveled against her was that when Lagospedia said their own, you didn't fish out Lagospedia. Now, very quickly, you brought out Amaka's picture. When MC Oluomo said his own, you people downplayed it. When a certain Oba who is still, in seats said his own, you downplayed it. Nothing was done about it. So when it happened to all these people, it wasn't bigotry. Now it has happened here, it's bigotry. I'm not holding brief for Abike Dabiri, but I can see why she will speak in Amaka's case, because it's her area, Nigerians in the diaspora. Absolutely. The people that we need to hold are the police, the police headquarters, the police chiefs, law enforcement agencies here in Nigeria. So Prince Muyiwa Adejobi has a number of questions to answer. Lagospedia, how have they not yet found him out? His identity has already been disclosed by people who have done a number of digging, and they said, they will get to it. It's not enough to say we distance ourselves from this. You have to show strong actions where there are no punitive measures against certain actions. Repeat is bound to occur.
I agree, and you honestly cannot even blame those who responded to Abike Dabiri like that.
I can see where it's coming from.
Exactly. She, of course, like you said, is responsible for Nigerians in diaspora, so that's very likely why she, picked that one out. But it's not the only situation that we've seen with this outright bigotry that is being spewed and violence, against people from a different tribe or different religion across Nigerian social media places. And I totally agree with you that if you do not take punitive measures against these persons, regardless of what side or what tribe or religion that they are, then you are simply allowing it to fester. The Lagos state government itself needs to do a proper communication with the people of Lagos State. Every now and then you might see, one random person, that is, somewhere on the bottom line of the Lagos State government, come and say, oh, we denounce it. That's not enough. What we are seeing here is it's a completely chaotic situation that might get worse with regards to all the tribalism,
and they must indications of getting worse. Really.
Yes, and they must start to take deliberate action and completely denounce it, not just with words, but like you've said, those who should be arrested should be arrested. You must see that the Lagos State government does not and will not tolerate any form of bigotry, not just Lagos State government, the Nigerian government itself will not tolerate any form of bigotry or tribalism. That should be the stance that should be taken, and it shouldn't be seen to be one-sided either.
I was going to say that, but I was going to use the word selective. It shouldn't be selective criticism or selective arrest or selective investigation that should be done. Regardless of one side, if you see bigotry leveled against the Igbos or against the Yorubas, anyone who is involved should be arrested, investigated, and punished. Also, it should not be limited to those at the lower cadre of society, regardless of what class you are. If you are a king or a chief or a political office holder, and you in some way make these statements that are insightful, you should also be brought to answer questions.
Now, another point to make. Every now and then, I always like to remind Nigerians that every now and then when we criticize government is made up of, people, like us, right? But every now and then when we criticize, the government, I always like Nigerians to look within. This individual, this character, this very despicable human being who is in Canada, that is currently the person in focus, should be ashamed of herself I don't know in what level of shame that she needs to carry on her, with herself for now till the next 10 years. She should be ashamed of herself because she's an adult. She's an adult that is seemingly educated, that was able to make her way away from Nigeria to Canada. So, you can assume that she has traveled. She's exposed to some extent. But with that level of exposure that you would assume that this person has, you can still see the level of bigotry that the person is spewing, even in a different country entirely, targeting Yorubas and the Edo people and saying that they should be, I wouldn't like to repeat the things that you said.
I don't think we should.
But a completely despicable human being that I don't know what the laws are, but should be punished.
Oh no, she should be, because those
statements
are statements, they're threats, they're insightful, and she should be punished. And I just want to quickly add as we wrap up that all those who are involved in criticizing South Africa, when South Africa in certain cases turns their back against Nigerians or criticizing Ghanaians, particularly South Africa, because there's been this rift between Nigerians and South Africans in the most recent time, which is very, very embarrassing, to put it mildly. All those people who have been a part of it.
They're not different.
They are not different. You cannot say, oh, apartheid, or you're shouting racism, whereas here in your own country, you're treating people differently because they're from another tribe. So you're as guilty as those people.
Everybody who was on that group chat, that TikTok conversation, they should all be ashamed of themselves, not just her. Because the reason that you are bold enough to spew those type of things is because you feel comfortable that nobody would challenge you and nobody would tell you to shut your mouth. The reason that you feel comfortable is because, you are amongst your fellow bigots. That's why. So they should all be ashamed of themselves, wherever they are, both those in Canada, those in India, those here in Nigeria.
And those criticizing, and those fighting South Africans and saying that South Africans are racist, and those in the West calling the West racist. You all should be ashamed of yourselves if you are also part of the people that are fighting your kinsmen, right? We're preaching unity. Unity is what we're after, is what we're talking about. And we should do better looking after each other, looking after ourselves here in Nigeria. Again, to go back to the conversation about people who have been champions of this before today, there needs to be investigation. Who is Lagospedia? Where is Lagospedia? And why has the person not been arrested? These are some of the questions that Nigerians are asking.